Jeremy Keeley is an experienced facilitator and specialist in change leadership. He works with people and organisations in the commercial, professional, public, education and charity sectors. His clients include Sony, Aviva, T-Mobile, Oxford University and the Worldwide Fund for Nature. Jeremy, what advice would you give to this company?
This is a very interesting situation because I'm unlikely to be giving a company like this advice. I personally find the idea of a company that deliberately produces violent games which are likely to influence children morally repugnant, and therefore would not put myself in a position where I would advise them. Having said that, if I were to give them advice, my advice to them would be that this is not a crisis at the moment. They have a particular product, a violent product aimed at a particular audience, and that audience is unlikely to be put off by the publicity that they're getting. In fact, if anything, that audience is likely to be more encouraged by this publicity. So the advice I would give the company is keep it going, keep stirring up the controversy, make sure the press keep involved in the story, but at the same time, make sure that this does not get banned. Then it becomes a crisis.
How should the media behave when investigating a product crisis story?
Before I answer your question, I just want to note and be clear that this is no longer a product crisis story. It's a product opportunity story, precisely because of the way the media has handled it. So to answer your question, when the media is handling a product crisis story, it really should first get clear about what its agenda is. What is it going for? If the media is going for sales of its media, of its newspaper or its magazine or its report or its article, then by all means maximising the drama, getting people excited about the crisis is the right thing to do. And that's what this particular media story has done. If, however, the media are trying to genuinely stop the sales of such a product, then they would be far better actually handling it in a different way, not maximising the drama of it. So, for example, they could have done some behind-the-scenes investigative journalism, produced a report ready to go, which they could possibly have used to threaten the regulators, forced the banning of the product, and then come out with a big story about how they did that and how they banned the product, which would then sell their newspapers. In this particular instance, they've handled it in a different way, which is just all it's simply done is excited the sales of the product even more, and doesn't seem to have had any influence on the regulatory authorities. The other thing that media need to be really careful about these days is the influence of new media. The internet, social networking software like Facebook and Twitter, all of these things get stories out to the public very, very quickly. And they need to be able to harness that, but also to be able to control it in an effective way.
How should companies deal with this sort of product crisis?
There are two elements to this sort of product crisis, and one is the product itself, and the other one is the way in which the media has handled the situation. With regard to the product itself, it's my experience that companies who are very, very clear about their agenda, very clear about their values, work ethically, and ensure that the product is consistent with those values, consistent with their purpose, those companies tend to face fewer crises of these sorts. What happens when they act consistently is the media generally tend to support them with that. And in fact, in this instance, the media is supporting them, even though it doesn't feel like it, because it's actually selling more product. This company, as it happens, is working consistent with its core intention, i.e. to produce violent material. With regard to the media side of the crisis, companies need to be so awake and aware to the rapidity in which stories now spread around the world, and the drama which media, both traditional and new, can make of that, but particularly how effective new media can be. When I talk about new media, I do mean, for example, the internet and social networking sites, but effectively, in our globalized world, how quickly stuff gets out. Modern companies have specific managers who manage the media, and particularly modern companies have managers who manage the new media and are responsible for really effectively controlling and harnessing stories that are going through the internet.